Hi there, my name is Jennifer Roskamp, also known as the Intentional Mom. And I wanted to come in here real quick and just share some thoughts on some things that you can do when life feels a little bit uncertain and maybe there's a little bit of fear. Things just look a little unclear, right? And we're a little bit unsure of what life is going to be like tomorrow, right? That's kind of the reality that we're living in right now. And so I wanted to come in here and just offer some things that you can do to kind of help overcome those types of feelings. If you're feeling uncertain, you're feeling a little bit fearful, you're feeling uneasy. Maybe this everything that's going on in the world right now has impacted you, in a significant way. Maybe it's affected your jobs. Maybe it's affected your ability to see family members. Maybe it's affected, your own mental health. Maybe you suffer with anxiety and things like that. And this has kind of made all of this stuff that maybe you thought was handled, and maybe it was handled, and maybe now it's kind of all bubbled up to the surface. So I think it's important to remember, though, that there are things that we can do even when we are facing uncertain times, right? And this isn't just relevant now, right? There's going to be all kinds of times in life. And if you've been around for any length of time, you probably already know that there are any numbers of times in life where you're going to have experiences like this, where your future is going to be a little bit uncertain, where things just aren't the same as they used to be. And you're wondering, are things ever going to go back to normal? Or what is normal going to look like, right? These are some of the questions that we're asking right now. But there are things that we can do, and I think it's important, and I think it's a good message to share. These are actually things that I homeschool my 9 kids, and these are actually things that I was going to sit down and talk to them about, that we were just going to kind of spend some time talking about and thinking about today. And I thought, you know what, this is a really good message for everyone to hear. So this is a message that I just wanted to share with you. So I have, I think, like 12 or 15 different things that I think will be really helpful when you're facing just kind of an uneasy feeling, right? Okay, so the first thing I wanted to say is that I think when your senses are on a heightened security, right? When we're kind of a little bit on edge, it affects how tolerant we are with those around us. And I think you've probably seen this on social media, just as I have. I think we tend to just, when we're on edge, we tend to just be a little bit more outspoken than maybe we would be otherwise. And I think just overall it makes us more less tolerant. So I guess the first thing that I think we should all do and could all do to help us during this time is to be more tolerant of other people and the things going on around us, right? A lot of, especially right now, what's going on, like it's really not anything that anybody can really control. So I think it's just important to be a little bit more tolerant and maybe a little bit less vocal, knowing that you're a little bit on edge and, it's kind of a hard time right now. And that just kind of affects, it really does. It affects how we interpret things. It affects how we say things. It just does. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. So that's the first thing, is to be more tolerant. The second thing is to think before you speak in such a way to say to yourself, is this going to be worth it, right? If you are thinking about saying something, right, and maybe jumping into a conversation on social media, maybe to just think about, is it worth it, right? Is what I'm going to say worth whatever might be the outcome of that? I mean, you're seeing, probably like me, you're seeing, people saying, I'm having to unfriend a bunch of people. I just can't believe, what is being said and all of these things. And while that's true, and certainly everybody is entitled to their own opinion, kind of going along with the first thing I mentioned is, because we're kind of all on heightened alert, I think it's just really important to step back and examine what really matters, and just to decide, is what I'm about to do here, is it worth it in the long run? Like, what is the outcome of what I'm going to be doing and thinking and saying right now, and making sure that it really is something that you want to take ownership of, okay? I think that's a really good thing. All right. The third thing that I think is a really great way to overcome feelings of uneasiness, or anytime you're feeling sad or overwhelmed, or when life is really hard, it's always helpful to list just one thing to be grateful for each day, right? And what you'll find is, it's after you do this for a few days, like, you could list a lot more than just one. Like, you start to notice as you go throughout your day you'll start to notice like, oh, that's right. You'll start to notice things that you could be grateful for, right? I've done it before where I've done 3 things to be grateful for every day. And as I'm going throughout my day, I think, oh, that's going to be one of my things, right? I'm just observing something that's going on around me. It doesn't have to be a big deal, right? Could be the robin that I saw out on my walk yesterday. And I thought, oh my gosh, spring really is here, right? That was the thought that I had. But then as you go throughout the day, you'll have these thoughts a lot of different times, and you'll say, oh, that's going to be my thing that I'm grateful for. Oh, that's going to be my thing that I'm grateful for. And it's not only something that helps you at the end of the day when you're going to list the one thing to be grateful for, but it also helps you find those things during the day, because it just kind of makes you more aware of what you have to be grateful for, even in the midst of uncertainty and fear and feeling overwhelmed and maybe things not going very well. It really is helpful to do that because it is something that you end up practicing throughout your day. All right, the 4th thing is to do something kind for someone else. The idea here is not only does it make us feel good to do something kind for someone else, but it is also really hard to be focused on ourselves and maybe the negativity that we're thinking or feeling. It's really hard, if not impossible, to be focused on all of that while you're also focused on doing something for someone else. So not only is just doing something kind for someone else going to help them out, it also helps you out because you are not focusing on yourself and you're focusing on someone else. And so these are things that we do all the time, but I think it's a really good thing right now to be focused on this, especially maybe every day doing just one thing kind for someone else that you go slightly out of your way to do. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money, right? There's a lot of things that you can come up with to do that would be kind for someone else. So just focus on doing something kind for someone else every day right now. It will help with these kind of swirling thoughts we all have right now. Okay. Number 5 is to tell each family member, near or far, so the people living in your house, the people not living in your house, the people living in your state and not in your state, and maybe not even in your country, your family members, those you are close to, near or far, tell them that you love them today or tomorrow. Whenever you commit to making this something that you're going to do, or maybe it's going to be over a period of a number of days. And ideally, you want to do this in person, which I realize we can't really do in person, but it's so awesome to see. I saw a news story today where they were talking about how like Skype and things were saying that their services are huge. They've had huge increases, and it's because people are being forced to use them more than ever, but they don't want to lose that face-to-face contact. We as people realize that there's something special when you can see somebody else's face, when you can see their facial expressions and just kind of hear them speaking at the same time as watching them speaking. And it just does something on the relational level that is different. So take the time to tell each family member that you're close with, and maybe even those that you're not, tell them that you love them, ideally in person, however that's going to look. Give them a Facebook message, do a FaceTime thing, do Skype, do whatever you can do to try to make it happen in person. And obviously, if the people are in your house, tell them in person, okay? Next would be to leave a note telling someone what you appreciate about them. Aren't these notes always so nice to get? They're so nice when someone actually says to you verbally. Okay, so when someone says to you verbally, hey, I really appreciate that you take the trash out every night, you might say to your son. But you really take that up to the next level when you leave them an actual note. Because I don't know about you, but when I get notes like this, I'll go back and read it. I tuck it away someplace where I know it is, so that when I'm having a bad day, I know that I can haul that out and it's going to make me feel better. So leave a note to someone, anyone, just telling them something specific that you appreciate about them. So you're not just saying, hey, I really appreciate you, right? You're trying to go to the next level and tell them something specific that you appreciate about them. And again, it always helps when you're taking the focus off of you and putting it on someone else, okay? All right, next, this is a really good tip, I think, especially right now, or anytime you feel overwhelmed, anytime you just feel run down by life, is to avoid taking in the negative as much as possible. I think all of us have, of course, a different level and a different capacity, but we all have a certain level or a certain capacity of the amount of negativity that we can take in before it just becomes something that we just cannot handle anymore. And there is so much negativity and just hard stuff. There's great things too, right? I see it on the news, read it on the, somewhere online every day about all the great things that are happening. There is a lot of great things. So don't let me come off as sounding like everything is all negative. But there is enough negative to go around these days. So if you're feeling kind of overwhelmed and uneasy about things and just kind of just stressed out, just do what you can to limit the amount of negativity that you take in. I think we don't think about how it affects us as often as we probably should. And I think we don't realize how often exposure to negativity really does affect us for at least a little while after reading it or watching it or hearing it or whatever it might be. So just limit the amount of negative information you are exposing yourself to, because even if you think you're not taking it in, I think we really kind of just do. So avoid exposing yourself to as much negative as you can, especially if you're feeling, very uncertain, very stressed out and overwhelmed, those kinds of things. Okay. So just watch the negativity that you're taking in and try to put some boundaries up around that so you're not taking in as much. Okay. All right. The next tip is to read an inspirational story. There are so many of those all the time that you can read, whether you're reading a book, whether you're looking it up online. You can find an inspirational story to read anytime. So my suggestion is to read just one thing inspirational every day. Read an inspirational story about someone who's, battling, who has, had a hard fought battle with cancer and they came out on the other end of it. Read about a struggling business owner who, came up with one little thing and it, transformed their business. Read a story about, a long lost family member that you never even knew you had, someone never even knew they had. And then, they set up a time and they got together and they met each other, or, you know what I mean? There are all kinds of inspirational stories and you can find them. So my suggestion is, if you are living in a time right now with everything going on and you're feeling uncertain about it and you just need something good, right? Focusing on bringing in more good in your life is a good thing. And reading an inspirational story is a great way to do that. All right. So my next tip is to do something active every day. It really does help, right? You've heard it before. I know it too. Exercise releases endorphins, and those are those feel-good hormones that just make you feel good. So do something active. It doesn't have to be something huge. Just make a point of doing something active, something that's going to get your blood flowing for 20 minutes, a half hour every single day. There are so many amazing resources online that are free that you can do, some sort of in-home workout. So many gyms that are closed and stuff right now, they're putting their stuff online just to try to help people stay active, because we don't want to have the negative repercussions of, being locked in our houses and staying home. So make a point of doing something active every day for 20 or 30 minutes. It does lift your spirits. It makes you feel like you're more in control, and it just overall boosts your mood and helps with all of those feelings that you might be feeling right now. So focus on making sure you're doing something active every day. And then next, find something to laugh about every day. There is no shortage of the ability to find these kinds of things either. Just those good belly laughs. There's nothing like laughter, I think, to boost your spirits. So even if you got to find some clean humor, stand-up comedian, there's all kinds of clean stand-up friendly comedians out there that you can watch or listen to. Find something, read something funny. You might have to search it out a little bit, but I promise it's there. Just find something to laugh about every day. And if you have little kids in your house, like 2 to 5, and if you need something to laugh about every day, just engage them in some sort of conversation. And chances are, at some point, you'll end up having a good belly laugh over something that they say. I'm finding myself doing that literally every day about something crazy that someone said or did. In fact, today, my daughter was doing she's almost 4. She was doing some sort of dance sort of thing. And then she was doing poses, and she kept telling us which animal she was. I don't know where this came from, but she decided she was a horse and she was a unicorn, and each pose really didn't look that much different from the next. But it just was something that we all sat around and laughed about, because her imagination and she was so excited about it. there's just always something to laugh about. So now more than ever is a really great time to find something that you can laugh about because it's going to make you feel better. All right, next on my list is to wear something that makes you feel good about yourself, right? If you need to, anytime you need to boost your spirits, anytime you want to feel better about life, just do something, put something on that makes you feel pretty, right? It makes you feel good about yourself. It might be a particular outfit. It might be that you took the time to, put some makeup on today. It might be a pretty necklace or earrings, something that was a gift. Just something that makes you feel good about yourself, something that you can put on as a reminder so that when you look and you're wearing your shirt or you see the bracelet on your arm or whatever it might be, it just kind of makes you smile a little bit when you see it throughout the day. And that helps when the days are long, right? That's another thing we're experiencing right now. The days are long. In fact, we were just talking about yesterday at dinner. It's hard to keep track of whatever day it even is. I mean, we homeschool, so our life isn't really that much different, but it's different enough because we don't have the activities outside the house to keep us on track. So just last night we were saying, I had one kid who said, "Is it Friday?" And my other kid said, "No, I think it's Monday." And then another one chimed in and said, "Wait a minute, isn't it Saturday?" I mean, that's kind of how it feels right now. So if you can just focus on something and look at something throughout the day that just kind of gives you a reminder of something that makes you feel good, it does cause you to smile, and that just helps when the days feel long and we kind of have these feelings of uncertainty. So wear something that you know is going to make you smile when you glance at it. Next would be to spend quality time with others doing something they love. Just pick one family member who's in your house to spend some time with them today. It doesn't have to be a lot of time, doing something that you know they would love to do. You can probably do this too. I could think about every single member of my family right now and think about, if I just was going to say to them, "Hey, did you want to do X, Y, or Z?" I could think of something that I know they would be like, "Yes, I would love to do that." Again, we probably can't really leave the house, but there's a lot you can do even within the four walls of your house that would be, quality time to somebody else. So spend a little bit of quality time with someone in your family doing something that they would enjoy. Not you, not to say that you wouldn't enjoy it either, but just think about what they would like to do. And if you can't come up with something that they would like to do, ask them. Just say, "I want to spend 15 minutes doing something, anything that you would like to do. What is that?" And it just makes you feel so good about yourself. And having that quality time and that quality interaction, that is going to be one good thing that comes out of all of this, is you can see it's kind of forcing us, I think, to kind of come back to our roots a little bit and to force us to focus on what really matters and what we really do have. That if we don't have anything else, at least we all have people in our lives, friends, family. We have people in our lives that are meaningful to us and that bring meaning into our lives. And I think that is a good thing that is coming out, is it's helping us recognize that a little bit better, and it's giving us the opportunity, I feel, to build on maybe what usually, in the everyday busyness of life can kind of get forgotten and can kind of get lost more than it probably should. But right now we've got the time to focus on the things that really matter, which is the relationships with the people who mean the most to you. And so take advantage of being able to do that right now and spend quality time with somebody else, maybe every day. Choose one person, right? To just do something short and sweet that they would enjoy doing. The next thing you can do, and this has been a challenge for me, and I kind of made this my challenge in the beginning of the year, but the beginning of the year was kind of focused on a lot of different stuff. And the New Year's, I love like New Year's resolutions and all that kind of stuff, but I also find that I have to, the things I want to do better and the things I want to focus on for a year, I have to stagger them. Like I usually choose like 2 really good ones in the beginning of the year. And then like around this time, like when we come to the second quarter, that's when I like to throw another one into the mix, because I can't make too many changes all at one time. I can't focus and do it well on too many things. So I would rather put a couple of things that, start implementing a couple of things like in January and get those to become habits, get those to become second nature, and then throw a couple of other things into the mix. And so in the last couple of weeks, I've really made it my focus again, this was something that was on my radar in the beginning of the year, but I've really made it my focus. And my suggestion to you is that you focus on every day saying yes to others more than you say no. And if that just sounded like a huge thing to you, like it is kind of a huge thing. And I think sometimes we don't realize how often we have the opportunity to say yes or no until you really start stepping back and trying to make sure that you're saying yes more than you're saying no. And you don't necessarily have to sit down and write down the check marks about, did I say yes? Did I say no? Right? You don't have to like reduce it to a mathematical equation, although you could. But I think we all can kind of, keep a general count in our head of just making sure that we say yes to others more than we say no. And I will say that if you're leaning towards this has to be a no, my challenge to myself and then to you, kind of as a spin-off of this one, is to say, I can say yes to this as long as, right? So it might be you might be, kind of what I'm saying is you might need to put a conditional thing in there in order to be able to say yes. And in my mind, that counts, right? If it is something that previous to focusing on that, it would have just been a fast no for me. Now I'm trying to think of, okay, so this should be a no, but how can I make this a yes? So that's my suggestion to kind of take this to the next level would be to say yes to others more than you're going to say no. And if you're thinking that something needs to be a no, how can you make it a yes? And how can you present that in a positive way then so that it is something that the other person really does genuinely feel is a yes rather than a no. It's amazing how different your life feels. I've only been doing this for a few weeks, but it's amazing how accomplished you feel when you know that you are prioritizing people more than things, right? Because people come to us all the time with requests. And this is what I'm meaning, saying yes to others more than you're saying no. So this is totally a relational thing. And I think so often, especially as moms, I talk to a lot of moms, I help a lot of moms, that kind of thing. So often I hear moms, myself included, say, I wish I could focus more on spending time with my kids and really being there for my kids. I worry that I've got so many different responsibilities and I worry that I'm not giving them the best of me, these kinds of things. And if you really want to focus on giving other people the best of you and making sure that they get the best of you, being able to say yes more than you say no is huge. And it is not only something that is such a gift to them, but it is equally, if not more, a gift to you, because you know that you're building that relationship, and we're made for relationship. That's a really fulfilling feeling to have. So saying yes to others more than you say no. The last tip I have, if you're feeling, again, we're talking about this kind of what's going on in the world around us and the fact that we can very easily feel uneasy and uncertain and unsure of what the future is going to be. We don't know if we're still going to have a job. We don't know when we're going to be able to go back to work. We don't know if there's going to be enough groceries. This is my reality, right? We don't know if, we just don't know what things are going to look like. We don't know if things are going to go back to normal. We don't know when they might go back to normal. Is it going to be a new normal? There's so many uncertainties right now. So one thing, anytime this applies, anytime you're kind of feeling uncertain or stressed out, probably something that you already know, but I think it's really good to focus on this right now. And that is to do some deep breathing just for a minute once every hour. In fact, if you have, an Apple Watch, your Apple Watch, my Apple Watch anyway, I don't know, mine's kind of an older version. Maybe they all have this still. My watch tries to encourage me to do some deep breathing. A lot of times I ignore it, but honestly, I think it's a really good idea. And I have tried to be more focused on that. And it's kind of nice that it dings at me and tries to get me to do that. I think it's really great. But the reason that is even on here in the first place is because it is helpful. It's really beneficial to people, to humans, to be able to just put things in perspective, just take some deep breaths, close your eyes, just sit back, close your eyes, and just focus on breathing in and breathing out for a minute or two, once every hour, once every couple hours. It just kind of helps offset those feelings of anxiety those feelings of uncertainty. It really helps you if you're feeling frustrated with something or someone. It kind of helps, tone everything down. I think it just kind of helps us simmer down, right? It's one of the things that I love to say to my kids, and it drives them nuts, right? Like, simmer down, just simmer down, right? But it really does kind of make us do that. So the last tip I have with how to deal with these things is to focus on doing some deep breathing. And if you're lucky enough to have a watch that will remind you, you really, like me, kind of don't have an excuse to not remember this one. And if you don't have a watch that reminds you, and this is going to be a hard one for you, but it's so good, so I really want you to do it. Maybe you need to come up with some other way. Maybe you need to set a timer or an alarm on your watch or your phone or your stove, whatever. But these are some really good things that we can do right now. There's a lot of craziness in the world. There's a lot of just weird, like we've just never been here before. And so it is normal to feel these kinds of feelings of uncertainty and fear and overwhelm and not knowing what to do. Like, how am I supposed to do this, right? How am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to make sure my kids are still learning? What are we supposed to do about this? What are we supposed to do about that? My kids are all upset because the Olympics have been postponed, right? I mean, like, there's a lot going on. And so focusing on these things that I mentioned here today are going to help us all get through it because we have to get through it, right? We can't, I'm reminded of that. What is that book? We're going on a bear hunt, right? And it says, we can't go over it. We can't go under it. We can't go, whatever. I guess we're going to have to go through it, and that's such a good reminder. It's such a good book because it's so true. We have to deal with what we have now. We can't change it. All we can do is try to cope with it the best we can. And these are some really great ways to do that. Okay. So we're all in this together. Hopefully these things help you guys. We're going to get through this and it's going to be just fine. All right. So I will see you all later.